There we go. I think we're ready. Excellent. Yeah, I think we're ready here. So that's great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kevin O'Brien, and I'm just joined here by my co-host, Lais. I think, Lais, I'll put you on there. And okay, I think Lais's mic is not great. So I'll do the presenting, if that's all right, Lais. So just give us a thumbs up there. Okay, thanks, Nujcharee. Thanks for joining us. You are joining us from Yorkshire in the north of England, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff. Just before we continue on, I'd like to just sort of reach out to everyone around the world, everyone who's joining us and watching us on YouTube. We'd love to know where you are. Please say hi. Please tell us where you're from. And also, we actually like to sort of welcome all the R user groups that are there with us, that there's members of the Barcelona R user group, the Berlin R user group, the London R user group. And they're all joining us today as well. And they actually also have events coming up, and to look out for them. This week, actually, we are on Monday as opposed to Thursday. The reason for that, of course, is that our studio conference is taking place on Thursday, and we're all looking forward to that. Next week, we will be back on Thursday as normal. And the week after that, again, we have a busy week. There is London R coming up on February the 2nd, and we're back on our Thursday slot on February the 4th. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Jumping Rivers, who are supporting both ourselves and other R user groups. We're very appreciative of their ongoing support for the R community. Jumping Rivers are based in the north of England also, jumpingrivers.co.uk. So I think I've hit all the marks there. So, Nujcharee, I'd like to hand over to you. Thanks for joining us today, and I'll let you take over there and share your screen and all that, and let you rock and roll.
Hi. Right, let me share my screen first of all. Hi there. Thanks for the introduction, Kevin. And hi, everybody. Nice to be here. And thank you, Jumping Rivers, for sponsoring this event. Right, let's start it. So that's me. My name is Nujcharee Haswell, or PET. I'm a data intelligence specialist and a data scientist at North Yorkshire County Council in North Yorkshire, UK. And I use Power BI since 2015 when it's first released. And on day-to-day basis, I'm using, apart from Power BI, I use R, Python, and SQL and other database programming languages to query data like SQL or Oracle and what have you. I like a good hackathon. I like to spend my free time, offer my data skill, helping with building insight on data product. Last year, I must have taken about 3 hackathons, so enjoying it. And I like good data storytelling. I love working with R. I got master degree in multimedia applications, and currently I'm working towards my data science degree apprenticeship at University of York St. John's in York. And sometimes I blog. Haven't done it for a while. Sometimes I blog, and I'm a mom. And right, so today I will give you introduction on how I use R in Power BI. So what is Power BI? Okay, Power BI is, you might come across it in many different scenarios really. So this diagram is a good introduction on Power BI architecture. Power BI desktop, which is what we're going to be talking today. Power BI desktop is basically the tool, the authoring tool that you use to do data cleansing, data manipulation, and visualize data. And once you've done with all the Power BI stuff, or changing information, then you might want to publish the report or your output onto cloud somewhere, and that is Power BI service. As you can see in the middle there, the cloud architecture. This is where you get to collaborate or distribute or share your content with other organizations or other end users. And the back end there's something called Power BI Gateway, which is basically an engine that allows you to talk with between your reports and your on-premises data sources. So we're not going to worry about that in this session. We're going to concentrate on Power BI desktop. So Power BI desktop looking like this currently, though. It is a Microsoft product, and it's got installer in Windows, but doesn't mean that you, as a Mac user, you can't use it. You can, but I think setting it up is a little bit tricky. You can use it by a virtual machine, or you need some further setup like bootcamp, for example. But I have both. I have Windows and Mac, so I will give you a demo on Power BI desktop as in Windows environment. So it looks like this. So Power BI is a lot of things to a lot of people. Let's see, if you ask someone, they might say that it's a business intelligence tool, and sometimes I can see it as a data product rapid prototype, because you could actually bring data in, manipulate data really quickly, and publish as a report. I would say like less than 20 minutes, and you got your data product, or you just use it as purely for its data visualization capability. So if you ask data modeler, they would say, okay, I use Power BI to model my data. For some of for all, I don't know what your backgrounds in the audience like, what skill set you have, but in a nutshell, in data warehouse, traditional data warehouse, there's a few terminologies like star schema or Snowflake schema, which refers to database design. So in here, in this screenshot here, you see that there's a fact in the middle. And the reason why I call it star schema, because it actually look like stars. You got the fact table in the middle, you got dimension tables around it. And to explain without going into too much detail, imagine that you own a business, then luckily you're doing your business really well and you want to record all the transaction information. This is where you will record that sort of information in fact table. So for example, you might have a column called date, and a customer column called customer code, a product code, and the total transaction on that day per that customer per that product. Then you will have things like a dimension table for customer lookup. And this is where, if you want to know about me, I'm head, I'm female, I live in North Yorkshire, all those attributes about customer will be recorded in the dimension table called customer. You might have a product, and you have that as a dimension, product dimension, that gives you information about what the product description is, what color is the product, and so on. The reason being because if you design this way, then it's kind of optimized, it's faster to retrieve or interrogate data using other reporting tools. So that's data modeler would say, yes, I can use Power BI to do like quick data modeling or data warehouse design. Or if you talk to business intelligence developer, they would say, okay, I consume data from data warehouse or possibly many data sources out there, put it together in Power BI model and do something, extract information, or you might design a report front end that tells a story about key performance indicator or KPI, and then publish that as you can see in Power BI architecture before. You might push that to cloud, publish that, and share it to your end customers. Or if you're a data storyteller, you don't really work on data as much, you might just want to use Power BI to create compelling data visualization that tells nice stories. So that's that. So, but why using this tool, right? You might say, as an R user, you could do all sort of these activities already in R. The quick answer probably is why, it's just another skill set that you can have, another tool that maybe like if you do something repetitive every day, Power BI might be able to quite quick and easy to do. The whole concept of Power BI is part of Microsoft Power Platform, and they like doing things with low code or no code at all. And what I like about it is the fact that I can just click, point, and click. But sure, I love coding too. But if I can get away with doing something quite quick, then why not Power BI? So what I will cover today, I want to walk you through on how to use R in Power BI with 3 different ways. So you can use R to get data from different data sources, or use R to get data from R script itself, because you might have analysis you already have in place, but you just want to visualize it using Power BI. You just get everything there, pull the information into Power BI model, or you might just use R to transform data. That's limitation in every tool that we use, and sometimes R would be the only tool that can do that, or Python, or sometimes it's just Power BI all the way. But I will show you the different scenario why you might feel it's probably more suitable to use to transform data within Power BI, or you just might want to use R to visualize data. And in this scenario, it's kind of similar to Shiny. And let me show you the quick screenshot. See, like Power BI, there are tons of connectors and drivers that you can choose from, template that you can pull or harvest information in, R being one of them. And but prerequisites before you do that, you need to make sure that you have all requirement or packages installed on your local machine, which is not really any difference to when you use RStudio as your console. Next thing, you can use R to transform data. One thing to note though, Power BI like tidy principle, meaning that it will work, it will output data in rows and columns. So if we return objects like list or other stuff like models, Power BI will not be able to read that. But there's a workaround it, using tidy principle. But yeah, or you can use R to visualize data, and as you can see that's if for users out there, this is obviously ggplot. So yeah, make sure that you have all the packages installed on your local machine before you're doing so. So let's get started. That's a lot of presentation slides already. So let's get started with something quite simple. In any task, like initial task, when you start doing R, you starting with a very small reproducible example. And in this scenario, then I use this snapshot from for data science. So let's see. And I think here, when you run R, you can see, when you run Power BI, I'm sorry, you can't see that. I'm just gonna open something, open the file that I already have in place. And I forgot to have my RStudio open, apologies. Here we are. So when opened it, I already have everything loaded in there, just in case things goes wrong. But I will start from beginning with you. So let's have a look. So this is our Power BI. Let's start brand new. Okay, I think it's a good idea to just give you a little bit intro of what we are looking at here. Power BI, you see left-hand side there are three different views. You can look at Power BI as a report layer. This is where all the visualization take place, where you can drop data across, and there's built-in visualization. Sometimes you can get what they call custom visuals, and I will go through it in a minute. But already there's a lot of things to choose from. It looks a little bit minimal, but really it's tons of there's lots of developers that create different custom visual that you can download for free. Some do it for commercial that purpose, so you have to pay, or there's some trial one, trial one that you can try on. And then this is where the grid, which is the data view, so probably can compare it to Microsoft Excel if you want. It's that show underlining data in a table format. And there's a data model view where when you start viewing lots of information, well, lots of table, pull lots of different data sources, and you might have requirements to merge them or make relationship between these tables. So those are basically 3 different views. The screen up here, so that's different tools that you can use. In Power BI, there's 2 languages that we can use in Power BI, and I'm not going to go through it too much, but just to touch base, there's a language called M, which stands for mashup, and that is in Power BI query. I will show that in a bit. And there's a language called DAX. That is quite similar to Excel. You know, when you put, for example, if clause, conditional new column, for example. So anyway, so that's our Power BI. Let's get to so I talked about reproducible example. So let's see in here. Well, this is very easy example. I'm gonna run in here, and I know that at this point, then it should give me output that looks like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now I'm just gonna load that thing in, that data set into Power BI. So what you do is you go to get data and go to more to find out to get more to get more to get into the data connector, apologies. Then and here are script, and we go connect, and we can just copy and paste it in there. Right, so see that sample, that data set just come through, and then we just load it. We can choose to load it, or if you want to manipulate it further, you can choose to transform data from this window, which will take you to what we call Power Query Editor there. And this is where I mentioned about a language called M, that we need to know. Yeah, but most of the time you don't have to write it. If you are the advanced user, you might want to know more about syntax and grammar of M, but for the time being, you could see that on the right hand side, anything you do, Power BI capture that as a step. So it's easy for me, like when I make a mistake and I feel like I don't like that, I can just delete it, or I can shift it around to make it a different order and so on. Anyway, so let's see, I loading that data in, which is this one. It's just exactly the same as what you saw in RStudio console, but really, like, you can do it without using R at all. In Power BI, you can just, if your sample data is small, you can simply just enter it in and then just type in information. Said you have a column called A, column called B, and then you want to just put information like that, and you click on OK, and it just loaded in. I wouldn't do it here because I have a sample there already. So, right, so here, I can just do that. If you're interested and you want to just create a sequence number, like in R, you have a sequence function, right, to just randomly give me number 1 to 100. And that to just generate number increment by 1 to 100 there. And a good thing that I found here is you can change that into tables. So you work it like a data frame. Here though, I think it's quite useful to see the column distribution or column quality as well. It tells you like custom profile, column profile. So very similar to summary function in R. If you have a look in here, it tells you count and some basic stat of that table. Yeah, so you can see count, empty, distinct, unique, very similar to summary. But let's notice something here though. In Power BI, it's only see data, the top 1,000. So if your sample data is really big, then the profile that you would see here will be the top 1,000 rows. So that's a limitation of the system. So yeah, that's basically a very, very simple example of how to work with AI and Power BI. So let's go back to our presentation, a little bit of slides. Let's do something a little bit of EDA sort of work with our penguins data set here. So I would take 3 steps to get data, to transform data, to summarize our penguin data set, and how we're going to visualize data. Okay, let's go back there, what I did there. So in order to get some data in, you simply go get data. Well, let's go back to the beginning of it. So get data, as I showed you already. This R script though is the box where we just copy and paste our script from R Studio, for example. I encourage you that you want to use this to test your script in somewhere else first, because once it gets into Power BI, then it doesn't tell you like what error it is. It does sometimes, but it's not very intuitive, I found. So I test that script and I know it works. So I basically copy and paste that. It's important that you have to assign an object for it to return to. That's why I repeat myself like that. I call this data set penguins, and I will load this penguin data set in. Once that's loaded, see that we got our penguin data, and see on the top there, there's 344 rows, and this is the basically the column distribution. So it gives us a little bit of like information on the statistics of the data set and the shape of the distribution and whatever. So that's that. Once there, that's it. So you can load this data in. To do so, you can go to close and apply, and it will take you to the front end here. Oops. So we got our penguin data here. So if you go to the view, you can see penguins data like that. Quite straightforward. So far, so good. So next step, I want to do some, you want to summarize data with R. You could do this by going to transform. There's one R script here. When you click on that, you will be presented with the box like this. And this is the default message on Power BI. It gives the default data set name as data set. So in order to refer to whatever you have loaded in a system, you see that you just refer to it as data set. At this point, I load data library tidyverse, and I just do a quick summary of my data set to give me the output. And this is how it's done. So once I assign this new object as DF data frame, and it's just successfully loaded, and that's cool. But however, though, again, you do not need to do this in R. Once you're familiar and comfortable with using Power BI, you actually can do this very easy by using group by function, and then you can do all the, there's lots of operation. You can sum, and then you can choose what column you want to sum that by, and then what you want to call that. It's a little bit like mutate the operation that you would do in tidyverse, but just save you time, just click and point and click. And then there you have it. So that's the quick EDA that we've done. So that's that. Quick and probably less than 5 minutes. And then if you want to check your data, you can do that by going to information that we just loaded there. See, yeah, right. I know that we can't just rely on penguins forever. Let's just see how I will visualize my ggplot. So what do you do here? You can pull the information across. Say, let's see. Let's just move. So in here, let's say let's say that I want to plot, I want to find a linear regression and find the relationship of the plot. What I can do is I can pull that column one by one, whatever I need. In this scenario, I want to use depth and length by species. And you can see that information in a table structure. And now I can choose to bring sex here and make it as a slicer. And then I can subset data using slicer. I want just to see male only or female only, or I choose to slice it by date or year. I could do that too. Like I want to see. Now, what I can do here, that's R and then for visualization. But this is where we want to build our ggplot. So click on R, and you will be presented with, I have to move our window back and forth a bit. You will see here. It didn't actually magically appear there. It's only because I already write the code behind the scene. But in here, you see that you can just copy and paste your ggplot into that, which will give you that plot. So does it look a little bit like shiny? I think it does. So another good thing of it is that I don't have to do lots of shiny coding. So I just change the view or subset it differently. Yeah, as I said, penguins doesn't live with us forever. Let's do something more meaningful. Next step, I want to show you how I use Power BI to carry out basic natural language processing using TidyText. And that's my story, really. I started using Power BI in 2015, and then I know like there's communities out there, and they're like really friendly, and I want to learn more skills. And TidyText happened to be the first package that I found. The TidyText mining book is just really comprehensive, and as a person who have background in SQL and database before, I find it really easy to transfer my knowledge from SQL, from database, and to TidyText. So I started that, and I love it since. So let's have a look. Like what? That's two things I want to do here. I want to do tokenization process and group words into different polarities. So in this scenario, then if you're familiar with TidyText package, and if you're not, I encourage you. It's a package written by Julia Silke and David Robinson, which I much admire. And in this scenario, I want to pick this novel, which is written by an Irish novelist called Ethel Voynich, and the story of the Gadfly. And I use Gutenberg library to download the book, and this is the script that I use. So let's talk about what else do I do. So I want to show you how you can join different data frame. Remember earlier on when I talked about like you have data model and you might want to just create model fact and dim table. So instead of using inner join or the grammar of our data wrangling, I just kind of use Power BI functionality called merge queries that allow me to do similar things as inner join and anti join there. And later on, I would like to analyze the relationship between two words. So it's bigram that's split into two unigrams, and then I want to see how often it appears together. So I use TidyText to analyze that, but I use Power BI to visualize my findings. And later on, I want to talk more about lexicon, and I want to analyze the wording in the novel and what sort of sentiment that it carries behind those words. So let's get started here. So I already preload that, but let's see. Again, going to get data and then go to R. But actually, I'm going to G because I have it loaded already behind the scenes. So let's see what I have in here. I got words. First of all, I want to tokenize words. So what I do, I load the data in to see if I have time yet. Here, I already know that I can, we know that my script works in RStudio. So I got a cheat and then copy and paste it. And this process, I want to tokenize it, which means I want to break all sentences or documents into one row, one word per one row. So yeah, I do that. And then once I click on OK, I got this data. Excuse me. So Gutenberg ID, which is an ID of the book, it's repeating itself. It's just one value. So really, you don't really need that. And this is like one thing to take in mind when you do Power BI, because any columns that you loaded in and it's contribute to the size of the file. If you don't want to use it, just remove it. So in this scenario, I don't want to see it again. So as you can see here, that's every single words in that book, right? So early on, I said that you can use R to get data. There's a concept in natural language processing, in text analytics. There's something called stop words. Stop words are basically words that not very meaningful. For example, in English grammar, then that could refer to pronouns like you, I, we, or they, or article like are, a, the, or proposition like upon, under, above, I don't know, a lot more. Those words probably like gonna appear in our sentence, in our documents many times, but probably not add too much value in our analysis. So we have stop words. So I decided to load stop words as a separate table, as a separate data frame altogether. And to do so, I can achieve it by using this script and just run it. Really, I shouldn't call it like that. That's my bad. But anyway, so I got stop words there, and I also have sentiment as well, but I will come back to that. So stop word looks like this. So it got lexicon, different lexicon, and all these words. The reason behind this is, for example, if in real life scenario, you might be scraping some website and you might scraping something like, I don't know, Brexit, hashtag Brexit from Twitter, you know that Brexit is gonna appear quite a lot of times, or it's again doesn't add any meaning into your analysis. So you might want to add this as part of stop words. So you can create a custom stop words there by create a new table and use the operation called append to build up more rows in your stop words. So that's the rationale behind why I want to do it this way. So here I got that. And as you can see, that's a merge query. This is where really in general, in R, you might want to use inner joy or anti-joy or left joy and stuff like that. But I use Power BI to work with stop words there. So I said word, it said, oh, there's nothing that it's matched. Interesting. And I said like, okay, I only want the rows from the first one that doesn't exist in this one. So I can do that, and then I can just use operations, click on OK, and this point, then it should remove anything from stop words, which give me this. And this is the count or number of time. Again, you can use summarize at this point, or you can use group by in Tidyverse, but there's a group by in Power BI too. So you can use group by in here, and then it's basically count number of rows, which give me this. Yeah, so all good so far. Now, next thing is what I want to do is do a similar thing like tokenization process that I just show you, but this time I want to do bigram. So let's see if I can just run that in RStudio. I just need to watch the time. And okay, let's see in Power BI. So I got that. Oops, I didn't download. Oops, rookie mistake. So download the document, and that's how it looks like. And now I know that I want to just extract bigram, so two words together, and I want to see if I can break it. in two columns, word 1 and word 2. And this time I'm cheating. I'm actually excluding stop word from this step. So I got that. So really, I just copy all of that code there and basically just put it right in PowerBi there. See, so anytime that you create a new object, please have a look here. When you create object that return tidy format, PowerBi can read that. So as you can see that I create a new object, assign new object book diagram, and that appears in here, book diagrams and diagram separated. I can see that there as well. Once that loaded, good thing about it is that you can choose. If you click on table there, it gives you a preview of what it looks like, what's the information inside that table, which is table and data frame. It's two same thing. Yeah. So in this scenario, then I remove columns I don't want. Then I group them. Group them. Basically, I just count them, like how many times it appears together, word 1 and word 2. And then I kind of sort it. I just want to see like what's on the top. And then I filter things that is just not very meaningful. So anything that appear together less than three times, I'm not interested. So I got that. Then that's in my model now. So I just can load the data. And let's have a look how it looks like inside. Right. In here, if you load it in, you will see that that's tokens. If you right click, sorted descending, you will see that information. You can easily change the type of the data here. And in word network, you see word 1 and word 2 in there too. And this point again, you can just join and make relationship, but I decide not to. So let's see. So now we can start visualizing information now. If I'm going to replicate what I just did here from scratch, actually, as a matter of fact, let's do that. I can do by starting from just table first. And where is it again? Oh, wow, this is where memory just gone. Word. So we got word 1 and word 2. And this is custom visual called force directed graph. In fact, there's plenty of custom visual you can explore. Let me, I don't have that link. I will add it in my presentation in a bit, sorry. So after that, then I use this force graph thing, and there you go. It just organize itself in there, and I might want to use it to tell me the difference of what words are highly correlated. See that? So in the word Signon. So I also can use slicer again to filter my data. Sorry, this must be quite distracted. I see my face from side to side. Here I could say I want to see the word, or I can just choose to sort it by like what words come first kind of thing. So because this book have some setting in Italy, so you see the name like Signora, so there's the 2 characters, so the name of the character, so it must be 2 Signora Crestini and Boyer. And I should know this. I studied Spanish, but not should be able to speak Italian a bit, but anyway, sorry. Right. So yeah, so here it is. It shows you the relationship between different words. So I think it's kind of like quick and easy way to visualize your insight. Next thing, I mentioned a little bit about sentiment analysis. I think I'm running out of time to show the next thing, but let's do this quickly. In sentiment, I choose, there are lexicon, like for those who are not familiar with lexicon, the lexicons are, I think of it as a dictionary with predefined polarity score. So that's different type of lexicon, like Bing will pre-assign words with positive score or negative score. Or in this scenario, I want to use NRC because it's actually give me a different type of polarity. I can have things like trust, fear, or distrust, and just something beyond positive, but just negative values. So I load it in again as a data set because I want to be able to join them between token and lexicon. And when I do that, then it allows me to do some visualization like this. I use radar chart because I want to see like how often words that aside with those polarity appear in a novel. And as you can see, it's kind of a pretty sad novel, I guess. And yeah, by the visualization, it's kind of suggests that. And you can do like a, table summary of that too. See, like you can choose to show the information just to like raw data, or you can choose to summarize it just like that. So there you go. That's sentiment analysis and stuff. So just to summarize, what I do and what I don't do in R and what I do in Power BI instead. I use R to work with TidyText within Power BI because tokenization process in Power BI could be a little bit messy. That means I need to separate all the words by space delimiter, and it can go on forever. Where TidyText is it's just tidy and easy to use, and I use it to separate words into bigram and unigram. But what I didn't do in R and to use Power BI instead is to join different tables using inner join and the join in merge queries operation. And also instead of visualize data using GG graph, I use a custom visual on Power BI called force directed graph. So that's that. So we got a little bit of time. Let's talk about case study 2, web scraping. I don't know what you guys thinking, but I I do a little bit of web scraping on Twitter and stuff like that, and I usually use RVest, where I scrape from website. They're not quite structured, but sometimes, and it's quite sometimes when you get a website that quite structured like this one, this scenario, I want to do Google News. I want to scrape like what's going on in the world today. So instead of trying to understand, like sometimes you need some extension on Chrome to be able to find out what HTML underlying coding is. Like, is it table, is it TD or TR? What's the X path of that script behind the scene? That's get a lot daunting to remember. So instead, I just use Power BI and copy and paste the URL, and it does the rest for me. And let's go. Let's have a look like how I did this. Google News. Let's see what's happening in the world today. So first of all, what I do is I go to web, which is achievable by going here and go to news source, web, and you just basically copy and paste Google News URLs, which I already done. So let me show you. I just copy news, google.com, and it comes up looking kind of yucky there, but don't worry. Right? As soon as that Power BI detect HTML encoding, it kind of translate that into table, and that's it. And that's it. I got tables now. I got information loaded into a table, and the rest of it, what I have to do is basically rename columns, and that's you want to call it, what do you think I call it, title and the source of the news outlet, and the rest of it, that's some stuff that you don't really need, like that. So you can, again, I mentioned before, remove it if you don't want it. That's something kind of might be useful here. It's kind of tells you when the information was posted, how old the news is, right? So I kind of interested to find out, so I try to extract that information in. You could do that as well using split columns. Here, and there are different options of what you can do. You can choose to split it by space, and I kind of make it like quick and dirty scenario here just to give you a demo. I just kind of assume that, okay, if anything, yeah, sorry, that's something called add conditional mute a column here, which allows you to like, create different condition, like what you would do in R, you will use if else or mutate again if it mutate if, but in here you can just say like, if this column means this, give it this value, or else give it default value of that particular column. So I got that and I just load the data in, which will give me information in Google News here. Google News. Right. So what I try to do, you remember that when I mentioned that there's a language used in Power BI called DAX. You can create a new column on the front end as well. And here I just create new column and I try to find out how old the news headline is. I simply just calculated today's date with the number that I just extracted. It's a little bit cheating because one could argue well 21 hours ago is actually yesterday, but if it's 3 hours ago, it's actually today. But I didn't go down into like making it that accurate. It's just kind of ballpark. But yeah, then once you got that data loaded, you can achieve this visualization to have a look at different news media and how often they put the published news out there, and you can plot it into line chart or use word cloud to visualize word frequency. So let's see, like the Guardians, I talk a little bit, and we know about COVID. Unfortunately, sadly, it's take over the news headline. So that's that. I wonder if I have enough time to go through another one. So what I do, the last one really is, I use Spacy. Spacy is, I don't know if you have heard of it. Spacy is basically Python, a natural language processing package from Python, and Spacy R package is an R wrapper for Spacy. The reason being is that, when you read news, you want to know like what, when, where, why, and who does what. And I want to be able to extract where this news is relevant to. And there is a topic called name entity recognition, which based on the training model in Spacy, then I will be able to extract or detect each token, whether it's the geopolitical location or short for GB entity, or is it date, or is it a person, or is it organization. I think it's really powerful. So I use this SpaceR. The setup that's kind of not tricky, but it's kind of straightforward, but take some time. So I encourage you to have a look and read the vignettes and that. So I try to extract location in order to come up with this plot. So to do so, let's have a look how I did that. I load the data in, as like the previous step. I got as far as remove everything and leave me just title. Then I use R script to identify, just use it functions called Spacy extract entity, and it gives me information like this: entity type. See that entity type, you can get date, person. It's quite accurate, to be honest, except I think Brexit is the country. I shouldn't go there. And yeah, so let's load that data in. Let's just close that and go to that. Google News place. See that? So if I want to have a look at GPE that, oh, Bitcoin, it's thought of Bitcoin as a place. Interesting enough. And vaccine is not a place. So, but it's not bad. It got the Britain's at a place, Uganda and Germany and India. So that's pretty cool. So from there, then I use that to visualize data. So I said that from whatever text I got from that spacey, I use that map, and the map, the default map, since it's Microsoft, is Bing map. So I got that, and say Uganda there, I say Uganda. And if you're interested in to learn more, maybe you can join the tables together, and then it can tell you more about, like, this place and what's news article and what have you. So yeah, it's just quite fun to do things. It's potential in Power BI is just limitless. You just kind of juggling between R and Power BI. Sometimes it's easier to do in Power BI. Sometimes it's easier to do it now. Sometimes just do both. So that's come to conclusion. Really, that's gonna wrap up now. So what I did in just previous demo is I used Spacey R to extract name, entity recognition, and I use the Power BI for the rest. Instead of RVest to scrape, use web scraping, I use Power BI web connector and regular expression. I didn't actually mention that at all, but it's so many ways. Regular expression is kind of give me headache. So I use Power BI to do lots of data cleansing and change and replace values. And instead of leaflets, and I use Microsoft Bing and Power BI to achieve like visualizing map. So to summarize overall my talk, then there's 3 ways to use Power BI. You can use it to connect data, to transform data and visualize data. And sometimes you can replace R even, but everything got limitation, and just to beware that some stuff you could and some stuff you couldn't do. And R packages I use in this demo is I use TidyText, Tidyverse, ggplot, and Spacey to do all sorts of different things. And these are the list of recommended read, and should you be interested more. I understand David Smith from Microsoft at YR webinar not long ago. So if you are interested in more that's outside Power BI, I encourage you to have a look at that YouTube. And had some Power BI leaders there should you want to check out. And between Christmas and New Year, read a little bit of data science in a box, and I thought that is really good recap of what I know and I don't know. So yeah, anyway, so thank you very much. That's me.
Great stuff. Thanks very much for that. Yeah, we have a few questions on the chat. So there's a few of them that sort of follow the same theme. So I'll just start to build up bit by bit. The first question really is actually, for example, the use of R on, let's say, the difference between how R is used on BI desktop and server BI. Just to start there, have you?
Yeah. What's different? Power BI server. I don't really use much on the server, but for example, in the past I use custom visual. You can use R to create custom visual, and in order to share this report to other people, then you need to check on Microsoft Crun. They have their own Crun. It's called M Crun, and that's website. And if this package is actually recognized on that website, then you can use it on there as well. There also R server, which works with SQL Server. I did it to build a model and productionize my model, but it's kind of a little bit like it deserves its own webinar, really.
Okay, well, we'll have to think about that sometime. Just actually another question that was related to this. Like, for example, are there like limitations of R in Power BI, let's say, as opposed to a recent version of R Studio, like with examples, let's say, installing recent versions of packages and so on?
Yeah, if you work locally, then that shouldn't be an issue, because really it's another console. You can think of Power BI as another console to replace RStudio in effect. But it becomes a bit tricky when you publish it onto Power BI service, because that means that, like every business, they like to refresh their data often. To refresh, if you go back to the diagram that I mentioned before, to refresh your data, you need this thing called Power BI Gateway. And for Power BI Gateway to work with R, it's a little bit tricky setup. That means you have to do the personal one, and in your organization, your organization might not want you to have a personal version on your desktop. So I think it's a lot of things to take into consider if you choose to go with R model for your production.
Okay, yeah. Another question actually is, for example, you I think you sort of touched on this point, but I'll ask the question again. So, can you share a dashboard that you build with Power BI with R?
Yes, you can. Yeah, in your organization, there's actually a different way to share your report. You can share it as a web, and this is kind of, if you're familiar with Tableau, there's like Tableau Public as well, where you just give someone a URL and public facing. There's no security tied down to it. You could do that, but not with R. R doesn't like publish to web, but within your organization. Considering that that R package is known to Microsoft Run, then yes, you can share the report.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's grand. So, just actually, just a sort of, it's not really a question, but actually, I was just wondering, have you ever explored Python, Power BI, and Python? Because there's a comment there from Ryan. There's also a book, Advanced Analytics in Power BI with R and Python. So just,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, good
I
stuff.
have, yeah, that Python. The reason being because at the time I use Python is not integratable with Power BI, and then like 2 years later, Python come in the scene, and yeah, it depends on your infrastructure as well, isn't it? Python and Windows is a bit tricky to work. I found, but yeah,
Okay.
doable.
Okay, so like that's an interesting question. So I was going to ask, how long has R and BI, Power BI, sort of shared, been able to collaborate with each other? Is it a recent development, or has this been
I
behind us
when
for a
I
while?
yeah, I think it's a while now. I started with Power BI in 2015. Was shortly after that that I start to see the icon, and Power BI get updates on monthly basis, and so that's a good thing about it. It got new release, and I think yeah, shortly after that, maybe within a year, I start seeing icon popping up. Like, oh, I want to try new things. So yeah, it's been quite established. It's been a while. And in fact, in custom visuals that you can download from the website, you will come across a lot of decision tree
Yeah,
or time
yeah.
series and stuff like that. Yes. Hope that
Okay,
answer your
yeah, yeah.
question.
Yeah, no, just actually again a comment there from Ryan actually since 2017. So it's still relatively recent, I think, actually.
Mm,
So they're
mm,
probably going to
mm.
still keep developing it and building it up, particularly as
Maybe.
Microsoft still have a strong interest in R.
Mm.
That's great. Just actually, just I'm very curious about your career journey. If like you can expand on that a little bit, if you want. Actually, I'd be very interested to hear
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. So starting off like doing lots of datas, and then I got a job here, and thankfully, like one of my dream jobs was doing business intelligence first. We started off at say only four of us, small team, and we like to try different things. We like to try prototyping different things, and yeah, like I mentioned before with TidyText, that's when I feel like I can't do anything. I can't do this in Power BI anymore. What can I do? And once I start learning R, it just so full of potential, a lot, many different things. And at the moment, I'm doing a degree in data science as well. So we kind of do it in Python, but I feel like switching from R to Python is a little bit hard because it's just used to with R already. But yeah, so I started doing that and start doing a few talks on with such R Day in Cardiff, and I just really love our communities really
Yeah.
and how friendly we are. And at the moment, like many communities, especially NHSR group, they're pretty nice too.
Okay, let's talk about more about that actually. So you're based in the north of England in Yorkshire, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
So like that's actually interesting. So like tell us a little bit about your local R community and also the Saturdays in Cardiff. I went to the most recent one,
All
and
right,
also
okay.
the NHS one.
Yeah, okay. So since lockdown, there's not such thing like local thing anymore, but there's no local North Yorkshire user group. The closest one is probably Newcastle, but in my earlier years when I like train still running safely, I like to just take a train ticket and go to meetup in London.
Oh yeah.
And just make a day trip of it and come home at midnight and stuff. But
Yeah.
that is where I met like interesting people. I met Hadley Wickham, and I went to user group in Edinburgh to just to see David Robinson like doing showcase in TidyText. So yeah, but there's no such thing with local. But the good things about what good things, silver lining it with the lockdown is that there's lots of virtual meetup, and that's
Yeah.
where I get more involved with NHSR. And a few months ago, they actually have a conference which I attended in person in Birmingham a few years ago, and it just full of practical use case of how to use R. These guys are, they do things to save lives and do. Well, not that other
Yeah.
data scientists don't do, but I'm very close. I used to work in the NHS before, so yeah, health and social
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
is something I'm close to my heart. So
Yeah. Just
yeah.
for the viewers at home, NHS is the National Health Service in England, in case just to sort of clarify that. Okay. So like the lockdown has been going on, so that's been sort of, how has that been for you?
It's been quite difficult, but it's not difficult. And then again, I'm grateful in a way that now I at home, my son's at home with me, my husband works from home with me,
Yeah.
so we see
Okay.
each other more often now. But it gets a bit lonely. But then there's always things to do, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Things to
Yeah.
do online and like this, for example, like meet new people and yeah,
That's
it's
great. Yeah. I've actually been to London R a few times. I'm a big supporter
hey,
of London R. And also I've been in Edinburgh for their R conferences, and it is great to actually meet up the R people around the world. This is
yeah,
more addressed to all the folks at home, the people who are watching us around the world. Please consider doing a talk for a virtual R user group, whether it's YR or Barcelona R or London R. It used to be the case you had to be around London to do a talk. I was around London a lot. But now, anywhere in the world, there's more opportunity to do it. So we invite everyone around the world, no matter where you are, to sort of start to consider doing some R talks. So just sort of make that a sort of a New Year's resolution for 2021. Okay, I think actually we've no more questions. I think we have had some good questions there, but I think that's a sort of nice place to end. I think that's good.
okay,
Great stuff. Okay, so just once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Jumping Rivers, and they've been, again, great supporters of the R community, both ourselves, YR, and a couple of the R user groups that are joining us today. And again, I'd like to sort of say hello to all the R user groups who are joining us: Barcelona R, Brighton R, London R, Berlin R, and so on. And thanks for them for joining us, and also we're looking forward to your talks as well. So that's great. Thanks very much, and I think we'll leave it there and see you next week on Thursday. We're back on the 28th. Remember that this week is our studio conference on Thursday, and a couple of people who have been part of YR, or part of our community, are going to be taking part in that. Amadou is going to be taking part in that. Amadou from Dakar. And we are back on the 28th of January, Thursday. And the week after that, London R has an event on Tuesday, and we're on Thursday as well. So there's plenty to keep you busy over the next few weeks. So I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, folks. Bye.
bye.